Coming to you live from my apartment, it's Rob Has a Podcast. And now here's the guy who's also bum-puzzled about what is going on in the Big Brother house, Rob Cesternino. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Wednesday night recap live after episode 25 of Big Brother 16. It was Zingbot night with Kathy Griffin and the Zingbot coming together. The Zingbot is fixed. Zach is screwed, and so much happening in the world of Big Brother. And here is our man who is on the scene reporting on it all. Please welcome back Mr. Brian Lynch. Brian, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty well, Rob. Kathy Griffin would be the diamond in this steaming pile of crap.
Oh, Brian, yeah, Brian is upset at the recent turn of events, and not the not-so-recent turn of events here in the Big Brother house. We're going to recap it all. You know, Brian, it was but 15 nights ago that we stood here with Spencer Clausen and did a funeral for Zach just 15 nights ago, and everything turned around for Zach, at least in the short term. Could it be we have another funeral here tonight for Zach before he returns to the house in the twisty twist coming for the house guests on Thursday?
Well, I said no last time when it happened, so I'm going to say no again.
Okay.
He has no shot.
No shot. No shot. Brian, why are you so down on the possibility of Zach winning a comp? I mean, if it would be a 1-in-4 shot potentially against Jocasta, Hayden, and Nicole, you got to think, you know, let's take Jocasta out of the mix. You got to give him a 1-in-3 shot to come back, right?
Oh, I thought you were saying for the vote to flip for tomorrow.
Oh, okay. No, I'm saying that I think that Zach is definitely a goner as far as the vote goes, but I think that there is a decent chance that he goes out the door and then comes right back in.
Well, I mean, if it happens to be like the last year's comp where people got back in, it's going to be between, I mean, you got to figure Jocasta's going to fall rather quickly. Can Nicole hang up there if it's a hanging kind of thing, or if it's something a little different? If it's something that's weighted towards the girls, she might be the one to beat.
Do you think that production could stack the deck to something that Zach might be quite good at? For instance, like when we had, you know, at various times where it seems like the competition that comes up is something that favors one person?
Would production stack the deck for Zach, though?
Who would, if in a perfect world? In a perfect world, who would production want back in the house? Not to say that that's the end-all, be-all, but you know, if there's percentage points that it's stacked for one person, wouldn't it be a stack attack for Zach?
I guess. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Hayden would probably work with Donnie better, just because. I mean, I don't know. Anybody that comes back in is going to have a hard time talking any game to any of these people.
I mean, Brian, we still have, what, 5 weeks left of this show? I mean, the prospects of 5 weeks without Zach here in the home stretch could be and should be potentially a little bit of a scary proposition for the producers, right?
Well, you know, that's their problem. They're the one that framed him for being saboteur.
All right, well, we'll talk about everything. All right, let's get into our live show here tonight. Of course, we have the chat room going here on robhasawebsite.com. Plus, Scott St. Pierre is behind the scenes monitoring your tweets with hashtag RHAP. Plus, you can also get your comments into the show, and we'll take a lot. No guest here with us tonight, so we have lots of time for your questions on robhasawebsite.com/YouTube. No guests tonight. Sunday night, Shelly Moore comes back to RHAP. We'll talk to her Sunday after the Sunday episode of Big Brother at 9:15 p.m. Eastern. And then just 1 week from tomorrow night, we'll be live in Ontario, California. I know a lot of people think we're going to be in Ontario, Canada. Unfortunately, that's not the case at this time. Ontario, California at the Ontario Improv with Brendan and Rachel for another live event in person. We're going to watch Big Brother live with Brenchel at 9 p.m. Eastern, and then go and do our podcast, which you'll be able to hear the following morning on robhasawebsite.com. Of course, unless you are there with us live, tickets are just $10. If you're in the Ontario area, it is going to be a very, very fun night. You can get ticket information at robhasawebsite.com/Brenchel2 That's robswebsite.com/Brenchel2. And we had a really fun night at the Hollywood Improv last month. I think it'll be another very fun night 1 week from tomorrow. Okay. Brian, let's talk about tonight's episode. I don't know if we need a full blow-by-blow of everything that happens. We could sort of just take it in chunks. But, Brian, do you feel like the show accurately portrayed the course of events from the weekend to when they had the veto ceremony in tonight's episode?
No.
Okay. Can you give us the biggest discrepancies between what we saw on the show and how it actually happened, according to you, on the live feeds?
I mean, there's just so much, and it all revolves around Frankie and Derek and their intentions and the things that they say in the diary rooms and what they didn't want at certain times. I mean, Derek's a snitch. He's good at covering his tracks. He's professionally trained to do this, and he's so good that he's got people on the outside convinced that some of his stuff, I mean, it just blows my mind.
Okay, so Brian, as far as this all goes with Zach ending up getting nominated, do you feel like the edit went out of its way to protect Frankie and Derek tonight?
I think it's gone out of the edit's always gone out of their way to protect Frankie and Derek. Like Derek in the last episode was saying that he wasn't going after Donnie, and in this episode, in the diary rooms, and in this episode he says that he was. And then right after that, he says that he wasn't again. He's changing what he says in the diary room in the same episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we saw Derek at the top of the episode. He said about how it was his plan to get Frankie to put Zach up on the block. He felt like he might have to get Frankie to do something he doesn't want to do. He says, I want Zach out, but I don't want to show my hand to Frankie, is what he told us in the diary room. Frankie ends up putting Zach up on the block, but we never saw a conversation between Derek and Frankie where Derek convinced Frankie to do it. How much of a role did Derek have in convincing Frankie to do it, or do you think that it was Frankie's decision and he just reached the same conclusion as Derek?
I mean, do you not think... did the switch just happen after the veto ceremony? Was the zing of Zach part of it?
What was
cuddling up? Because it started with Victoria that I can't zing you because you have no game at all, and then it goes into Zach, and then the zing is specifically about him cuddling with other guys, i.e. Frankie. Does that get into his head as that's Zach's game, he has to go?
Really? Out of anything, I mean, I feel like that's pretty innocuous. I can't imagine why that would really bum Frankie out, that he said that he was cuddling. Frankie is such an egomaniac that I think he would like the fact that Zach's zing was about Frankie.
But Frankie's DRs are crazy. Like right on up until veto, he's talking about how he doesn't want to do that to Zach. He's just lying. He wants to do that to Zach, and that it's hard on him to nominate Zach. It's just crap. Complete crap.
Okay, so as far as Frankie and Derek, that we have the drama with Zach, but also Derek, how he feels about Donnie. And I thought this was a very interesting scenario at the top of the episode where Donnie was talking about he doesn't trust Derek at all. And it seems like Donnie, out of anybody in the house, is the one person who really knows what Derek is all about. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, he was saying something like this. Derek was saying that this was the first week that things didn't go his way, and you were just saying that, of course, he was trying to target Zach at the beginning of the week. But this statement leads you to believe that if things didn't go his way, then Donnie was his target. And that's what I'm talking about, discrepancies in his DRs.
Yeah. It was funny, though, that Donnie tries to do, like, the Jim Halpert move to the camera after Derek is like, oh, yeah, Donnie, man. Oh, then, give me a high five. You got off the block. That's great. And then, Derek walks away, and Donnie is like looks at the camera and is like, and then Derek came back into the room. Now, you said last week, or in our last conversation on Monday, which a lot of people really admired how fired up you were on that Monday episode, that Derek was crying after Battle of the Block. Did Donnie see that?
No, he was crying in the HOH room, I believe. Victoria eventually came up and talked to him. And that may have been about the extent of his crying.
Yeah. By the way, I am getting some messages in the chat room. For whatever reason, people are not able to see my video. Brian, you can see me, right?
I can't see your video.
How many fingers am I holding up, Brian?
You're holding up 0 fingers right now, Rob.
Right now, that's right. So I'm not sure exactly why you guys aren't being able to see the video, but I'm just going to keep on going because there's really nothing to see over here. As long as you can hear me, I think that's fine. Hopefully when the video gets uploaded to YouTube, everything works out, but I'm not sure exactly what is the problem. Hashtag Ariana Grande. So we'll just keep going audio only, and you'll have to just look at Brian's handsome face as we go along. So the Derek thing is very interesting as far as what Donnie knows, but unfortunately, Donnie doesn't have any allies in the house. Is that fair to say?
Yes, and that now that he wants to make a move, like his zing got him like excited about making a move, like 2 weeks too late, right?
Yeah. Well, why? What's the move that Donnie should have made?
Donnie should have went to Zach. Donnie has been not going to Zach for the past couple of weeks because Zach will go run his mouth to everyone. But what he does is go tell other people things, and they go run their mouth to everyone.
Yeah, it's a problem that, Zach's game of trying to, he's very exciting, very electrifying, but I think that probably, like I told Tony a couple of weeks ago, 0.7 Tony probably would have been just enough. Like 0.7 Zach probably would be a lot better player than the full Zach that we've seen this summer.
Don't make me speak llama, Rob.
I won't. But I tweeted earlier that how do we get off of Team Zanky and onto Team Zani?
Because of the constant backstabbing by
No,
Frankie.
I want that. I want Team Zani. Can we get that a thing? Can we get that a hashtag? Team Zani?
It is a thing.
It is?
People are dying for it, yes.
Okay, good. Well, I'm on give me on Team Zani.
If Zach comes back and he doesn't work with Donnie, I mean, I'm seriously questioning Zach's game already. I mean, he really has no game. He's got heart is what he has. An amazing amount of heart. And that's why people love him.
Yeah. I'm off Team Frerick. You want to go with Frerick, or do you want to go with
Dinky?
Danky? Danky? Yeah. We're out. We're out on Danky, but yeah. Sell. Please more Zani. All right, let's talk about the Zingbot here. And here comes the Zingbot, and the Zingbot is broken. Apparently, what is the Zingbot on? Windows 8? Is that what happened?
Propped up.
So what do you think of
updates?
the Zingbot? They has a problem with the firmware, and the Zingbot is only giving props. Brian, would you say that my picture of no video is more attractive than my old one? Is that props or is that a zing?
I don't know.
It's probably a zing. It's more of a zing than props.
Maybe a zing for your picture.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, but Brian, excellent analysis as usual on tonight's episode. Props.
Oh, I'd rather have zings, actually, Rob. Just zing me about things.
Well, so the Zingbot is broken, but now here comes the doorbell rings, and here is Kathy Griffin to give us a zingervention. And this was funny. Oh, hold on. People are saying that the video, I didn't touch anything, but the video is back. It must have been like the Zingbot, my video, where then thankfully Frankie was able to connect all the lights, or maybe Beast Mode Electrician was able to get my video working, Brian.
Well, Kathy Griffin is the diamond of this episode, so it wanted to come back on for the Kathy Griffin segment.
Now, what is going on Big Brother that it's like the Love Boat that we had Gilbert Gottfried come by a week ago? Now Kathy Griffin is coming in. Who's going to pop in next week?
Out of comedians, who would you want to see next?
Rodman. Can we
Rodman.
or Joe Mackey?
I don't know these people, Rob.
Well, you got to watch Last Comic Standing. All right, but yeah, I'm very excited about all of these celebrity cameos. It's like Sharknado in the Big Brother house this summer.
I've really enjoyed them too. They've really been a bright spot to the episodes that have been not so bright.
Okay. Well, this was very fun that Kathy Griffin came in. Although I feel like it was my eyes were rolling as Kathy Griffin comes in the house, and who's the first person that's running up and hugging Kathy Griffin?
Oh, Frankie, hello!
Yeah, and then he's like, "Oh, I love Kathy Griffin." Grown men should not be ever making this signal. That's not for grown-ups.
How dare you suggest that he's grown, Rob?
He's not.
They had to do a waiver to allow him on the show.
Oh, because he's so young.
He's too young.
He's a young man, Frank Grande. But yeah, and for you, those of you guys listening to the audio version of this, I'm making the heart symbol with I don't think that's for grown-ups. I think that's I don't think they're supposed to be doing that. About Kathy Griffin.
I love Frankie, Rob.
All right, so yeah, that was a little bit a little bit much. That the one person has to oh, celebrity is here, a famous person. How close can I get to them?
But does he know who she is when he does that, or he just knows that she looks familiar? Ah!
No, I think he knows. He definitely has to know who Kathy Griffin is.
Not a single person said Kathy Griffin. That was Zingbot. Zingbot was like, "This is Kathy Griffin," and everybody's like, "Oh, we love you. You're famous."
They know who Kathy Griffin is. They have.
They don't know who Dr. Will is, Rob.
Well, the Dr. Will doesn't have as many Twitter followers, I don't think, as Kathy Griffin. He's not a mogul.
That's fair. That's fair.
All right, so here comes Kathy Griffin, and she explains that there's something wrong with the Zingbot, and she is going to show everybody how it's done. She zings Caleb and says, "You and Amber have something in common." She thinks you're drop dead gorgeous, and she wants you to drop dead. I guess okay. Christine Glass is supposed to make people smarter, but not in your case with the game. Again, a little bit of joke book jokes, but on the Victoria thing was funny when she said, "I'm supposed to zing people only who are playing the game," and Victoria is really, illustrates the point perfectly. What do you mean? I'm in the top 8.
Wow!
Oh my God!
Why would you say that about me? I'm Nessie Ha.
I don't know about this Victoria. I think Victoria might be up on the Mount Rushmore of all-time worst casting decisions on Big Brother. I don't know how we got to this point.
What kind of gets me about her is, you remember when Zach had kind of blown up Derek's game to her, and she was PO'd, right? She was mad at Derek, and then Derek did the, you're stealing food out of my daughter's mouth thing, and told Zach that he had to lie or he would be stealing food out of his daughter's mouth. And Zach said that he would lie and protect his game, and that's how Victoria ends up not thinking that what Zach said was true.
Yeah. I'm sure Victoria is, a nice person, but as far as like all-time zeros in terms of any sort of idea of what's going on in the house, I think Victoria is right up there on the Mount Rushmore with Jen City.
We were calling her a nice person, but we haven't got to spoilers yet.
Okay. All right. I'm technically what I'm calling her is a total zero in the strategy department, and I'm not sure why casting put her on this show. That's one of the reasons why. That's what I'm saying. To be accurate.
Well, to be fair, I said that like a long time ago, Rob.
No, okay. I'm just illustrating.
So welcome aboard.
Okay, and no, it's annoying me that she's going to be in the final 3. Yeah, that's what's irritating.
It's annoying you that she's going to be in the final 2, right?
Yes, Yes. All right. Then the Kathy Griffin one, the zing about Zach, wasn't like super hilarious. You kind of saw where it was going, but the hilarious part of it was like Zach's reaction that he just like no sold it and he acted like he was mad and he was like staring her down. But then when Kathy Griffin like moves in and gets in his face to say zing, and she's like. She gets in his face, and what'd she say? Zing, mother effer. Is that what she said?
Yep. No, zing, mother effer, zing. Yeah, exactly.
Zing, mother effer, zing. And then he like knocked over the stool. It was hilarious. And what's with the new thing that these celebrities that they bring in between Gilbert Gottfried and Kathy Griffin? They drop the f-bombs on the house guests.
I mean, it's funny, right? They bleep it.
Oh yeah, it's hilarious.
The thing about like vulgarity, right? I kind of enjoy it in a way. I find it funny, but some people find it very offensive, and I understand that because they got families and stuff, and they're trying to watch the show too. So it's a fine line that they're trying to walk between being edgy and respectful to those viewers.
A properly timed, like bleeped profanity, I think is funnier than hearing the profanity. Like, that was the thing with the Osbournes, where it was just like, so the bleeps are funnier than hearing the word.
There was another bleeped word like that in a planned moment from Frankie during his nomination speech of Zach, right?
Why?
He said something about, he dropped the F-bomb in his little rhyme because it was so hard on him to nominate Zach that he had to write a poem for it. But he dropped the F-bomb, and it didn't make the same effect. It's like, well, Kathy Griffin's like freaking professional.
Wait, did they cut that out of the show, or that was in there?
That was in there. They played the entire thing and then just bleeped it real quick. But he was like spitting it out like that, like a rap, and so he barely missed it.
Well, we'll get to the Frankie nomination speech. Okay, so we do the veto, and we're gonna go outside and put everything together. And any thoughts from the veto competition before we get to then the repaired Zingbot?
Oh. The Frankie saying, I did that for you, her, and the gays pissed me off.
That he won the veto for the gays?
Yes, that pisses me off. And I've got spoilers to go with that, too. I'm like the big bad wolf, Rob. I'm ready to blow everybody's house down.
Brian is the big bad wolf. Oh, my God. Wow, so Frankie won the veto for the gays? That's amazing.
He won the veto for himself, and he's like climbing up on the gay cross, trying to like get all the sympathy he can. And he thinks the gay army is going to follow him, like the Grande Army is not following him. They're all pissed off at him too. His sister is mad at him.
Oh no, oh that's bad. That better fix that, fix up that relationship. That is a big deal. We cannot. He can't risk having the sister be mad at him, or the party's over.
That's right, Frankie. Don't mess with she who must not be named, because she'll send the army right on after you.
Okay. All right. Well, everybody knows that we are big fans of the Ariana Grande. Brian and I, we were playing her music right before we came on.
Yes, we were. The Problem song, and I do enjoy her music. She's pretty badass.
No, you know what? And this is in fairness to Ariana Grande, and we tease, with all the Frankie stuff. I've been reading up a little bit on Ariana Grande, who, as a man in my 30s, I was not very much did not have a lot of knowledge about Ariana Grande before this summer. But the little bit that I've been reading up on her, she's just having a phenomenal summer. She has, a bunch of hits and is really coming into her own. That, one article that I read about her, they were saying that she is like, could be the next Mariah Carey.
Well, I mean, she's an amazing vocalist. I mean, I'm sure that they wouldn't like for it to be thought of as like she's having an amazing summer because her grandfather died, and she really did have to put her career on hold. And to think about it as a career for her, I mean, she's like, just turned 21 years old. She's a freaking child prodigy. She's got a bright future ahead of her. We wish her all the best.
Yeah. And Problem is the unofficial song of the summer, Brian.
Is it?
Yes. I think it might be the official at this point.
I mean, I got problems right now.
Yes.
I got
Yes.
some serious problems.
Yes. So yeah, they say it's the Call Me Maybe of 2014. It's happening.
2014.
Yeah.
I
All
don't.
right. So
I'm like so bad on all these songs, Rob. It's like all this just goes right on over my head. Like you said, Friday night, I'd get it, but like, I'm like Donnie. I feel like Donnie.
okay. All right. So afterwards, they get the veto, the Zingbot fixed, and I was annoyed because I was like, "What? That's it? Kathy Griffin and the Zingbot. And we got 4 jokes. That's it." But then the Zingbot got fixed, and they saved the best for last because the Zingbot then pretty much killed it with the 4 jokes that he told.
Oh yeah, well the Frankie joke is one we didn't go over, I believe, about like how he liked to stand, and it was so great to hear them talk about that later on. They were like, we didn't really know what he was going for because Frankie's tan's really not that exceptional. But then when they brought up the thing about being in the Sister Shadow, it didn't really bother him. I don't think. He was just glad that his sister got named or mentioned.
Yeah, and so that was really really funny. Then the next one was then the Zingbot went after Derek. Derek's looks, which was a little harsh on
That's a
poor
cop
Derek.
out,
Yeah.
Rob. They took it easy on him. I
Well,
mean, he's
what do
made
you want to zing
Victoria
Derek on?
cry.
Yeah, what do you want to zing Derek about?
I mean, I could come up with something if you give me 5 minutes, but I mean, not just like right off the bat, I could talk about like they're going to zing Cody and Christine, but they won't touch him and Victoria. Those are equivalents. They couldn't have come up with a Victoria Derek joke.
Wait, that Derek and Victoria are cuddle buddies?
Not that they cuddle. They do cuddle sometimes. Like the cuddling thing is like ridiculous, right? I mean, people get freaked out about Christine and Cody because it's just like completely overblown and over the top, right? But when
Yeah.
you're around people and they sit next to you and you start laughing and stuff, you'll lean up to them. Like even if two dudes, right? It's not such a big deal. People like freak out over it all the time. Like somebody's screwing somebody up in here. They living together at this point. They're family, really, that's trying to kill each other.
The Donnie joke of your look is very Duck Dynasty, but your social game is Suck Dynasty. That's not like on paper a very funny joke, but that's the kind of thing that really cracks me up.
Yeah.
Duck Dynasty, more like Suck Dynasty.
That was hilarious. The Cody and Christine joke though, right when Zingbot started to say that, he was like, Cody, ah ha ha, and Christine's hand came into the screen and started like rubbing on his shoulder, like it's gonna be okay. And then the joke was, Tim's coming after you, and you see the hand go.
Yeah. Now you haven't made any enemies this summer except for Christine's husband, which was from what we heard over the weekend that she was very upset. I thought that was pretty tame, Brian.
It was tame, but of course she doesn't know how it's being viewed on the outside, and if she did, she would probably be more upset because you know how people are, man. They ain't gonna let up on that.
Yeah. And I watched a YouTube video from Christine's husband, and he's out there. He's an aspiring mogul, Tim Brecht, and I believe his YouTube channel is at Tim Stinks. And so he's been making YouTube videos, and that I kind of feel like why not steer into the curve and sort of take things head on. So I think that it's a good way to sort of cope with dealing with some stuff that could be aggravating in the house.
Oh yeah, well this guy and like all the families of a lot of these house guests are dealing with a lot of crap right now, and any way they can find to vent it out or to do something productive with it, they're still stuck in a situation just like their family is, and they didn't really choose to do it, did they?
Yeah. Well, they have to deal with a lot of trolls, and that's what kind of sucks about this. It's like your loved one goes into the house, and then also you have to experience that they're gone, and then also you have to deal with the trolls on the internet from all the whole time that they're gone. So that's sort of like your family didn't sign up for this. You wanted to go play Big Brother, but your family has to deal with like a lot of abuse over the summer, and that's one of the unfortunate things about Big Brother.
The thing, though, is that a lot of these people feel justified in what they're doing because of the game that's being played, right? That when shots are taken below the belt, that gives them some sort of license to go after that person's family and to make their life miserable. And it's really kind of sad. It is just a game, but it does kind of suck when people like actively start trying to ruin people's lives outside of the game.
Yeah, no, that's the ugly side of Big Brother, which is very unfortunate, and it's a very, very small percentage of the viewing audience. It's a fraction of 1%, but it is a very unfortunate fraction of 1%. So, Brian, we are going to have some rejected zings that came in from the listeners of Rob Has a Podcast. I asked the listeners to submit their own rejected zings. We're going to bring you the top 10 rejected zings that didn't get used by the Zingbot later on in this show before we wrap things up tonight. And some of them are pretty good. So, all right, after the Zingbot left, now Zach is getting very nervous. And we saw Zach and Donnie talk in the storage room earlier, and Donnie is like, Zach, if I were you, I would make sure I win the veto so you don't get backdoored. And, it seemed like that Zach was like, you know what, I think you're right. I got to do this. And it seemed like Zach had a bad feeling this whole episode. And then after Frankie won the veto, I thought it was interesting when it was Zach, Frankie, and Caleb in the kitchen, and Frankie, now that he has the veto, he says to them, I won the veto, and I wanted Kathy Griffin to put this on my neck. And Frankie said something about like, well, if I don't put you up, am I safe? And Zach said to Frankie, at least for 2 weeks. Did I take that out of context? I mean, that seems like the wrong thing to say to Frankie in that spot.
It's you didn't take it out of context. It's said as a joke, right? And they walk away laughing about it, and it kind of cuts right when they start to laugh about it.
Okay, all right. So it was, a joke, but I think was the show playing it as a joke, or the show was treating it as serious?
I don't know
matter.
what the hell they're doing, Rob.
All right, so Brian, take us through it in real time. So at the point that Frankie wins the veto, what is happening in the house? Because the next thing that we see, Frankie is up in the HOH room, and he's sort of like thinking aloud to himself, do I really want to send home Victoria, or do I want to make a big move and get somebody out who's been really bad for my game from the start? And then the next thing we see is the Team America stuff of everybody, Cody can't find his hat. And it makes it seem like, okay, everybody thought Zach was the saboteur, so this was Frankie's opportunity to backdoor Zach. Now, we know in real time that's not how it played out. And by the time that the saboteur stuff was happening, Zach was already very firmly in the crosshairs, correct?
Yeah, so when Zach's and Caleb's having that conversation that we talked about, right? I think it's just like right after that when Zach's away, Caleb mentions to Frankie something about getting Zach out or whatever, and he was like, oh yeah, I've been thinking about that the whole time. And then Frankie runs upstairs and then cries about it. So that's for the edit, right? For the good edit, because he wants to feel bad about it for the show so he don't look so horrible. And then that's how it proceeds, right? He does the things, and then he tries to clean the mess up afterwards.
Okay, so why is Frankie concerned about the edit of getting Zach out when he wants to get Zach out? I mean, doesn't that, like, the way he treated Zach, if he's concerned about getting Zach out of the house, or how he's going to be looked to get Zach out of the house, then why get Zach out of the house?
Because, Rob, he's like a complete idiot. He will not allow, like, if Zach will tell him something that's like, hey, look, it's better for your game if you keep me, Frankie will say, yeah, I know, but I just can't trust you to not turn on me again. And that's the end of it. And then he goes and tells everybody.
Well, now, full disclosure, we both are Zach fans, but just objectively looking at this, is this the right move for Frankie to get rid of Zach? We're at final 8. Okay, go ahead.
Frankie thinks that the numbers are like around 6-2, right?
6-2 what?
Like in the group, he's in like the group of 6, like including Zach now, right?
Okay.
Or not? I can't count numbers.
That's
but
right.
It's more around like 3-5 with him in the bottom group, and he don't realize it.
So it's really the season is coming down to Derek versus Frankie, right? And Frankie is removing a number that's squarely on his side, correct?
Yes, and he thinks that he's just taking out the backstabber in the big alliance.
Okay, so if we were really going to, draw what the alliances look like right now, it's really, there's people who are with Derek, and that would be Cody and Caleb and Victoria. Is Caleb more with Frankie or with Derek?
Caleb's would be more with Frankie.
Okay.
I believe, but I really think that Derek would have a chance to turn him on Frankie just because he's so manipulative and he's been able to turn Caleb on a drop of a hat before,
So really, but what Frankie is doing by getting rid of Zach is he's doing exactly what Derek wants to do. Frankie's the one getting the blood on his hands. He's taking somebody who's firmly in the Frankie camp and not in the Derek camp and getting rid of them and then leaving all of the Derek guys in the game. And then so Frankie on his side, he really only has Christine and potentially Caleb on his side, while Derek still has Victoria and Caleb. Oh, I'm sorry, Victoria and Cody, and then Donnie is sort of in the middle, and then whoever comes back into the game.
Yes, he's overlooking like major things in the game. They pretty much know that somebody's coming back into the game. He is not factoring those numbers into his thing. I mean, he could be like the flip. You flip when that happens. You flip right before it, right? If you can get your numbers even, if somebody's going to come back in, fight the people that sent that group home, you might have like another 2 weeks. But if he doesn't win next week, he's going home, unless what's going down like this week puts a target on somebody else.
Would the right move for Frankie to have been to backdoor Victoria? Because I know he's like, oh, I'm the HOH and I didn't make a big move. I only got rid of Victoria. But isn't Victoria the ultimate pawn for Derek's side and would be, Derek's optimal choice for the final 2? That would be a big blow to Derek to get rid of Victoria. Because right now Derek has 2 votes and potentially 3 with Cody. I think that would hurt Derek's side.
I feel like evicting Cody would have been equally doable and more beneficial in the long run and more hurtful to Derek's cause, because I don't care what people are saying about Cody's ability in comps. He is a freaking beast when he's going to turn it on.
They play Jenga a lot in the house. And I make this analogy a lot with Survivor, but I do think with voting people out, you do want to pick the right block to get rid of. And I'm not sure if Frankie could have backdoored, or I guess it wouldn't have been a backdoor, but I don't think he could have stabbed Cody in the back this week without losing people like Caleb and turning him more against him and playing back that he's the ultimate backstabber. But I think Victoria would have been an easy block right off the top to be able to take out of there. It's Derek losing a number, and I think he would have still had Zach and, also Christine. And unfortunately, Zach and Christine don't get along great for Frankie. And so he doesn't have, his numbers aren't as united as the people on Derek's side. But it would have been, I think, a better spot for him. And if Hayden is the one that comes back into the house, Brian, isn't that checkmate for Frankie?
Oh, definitely. I mean, he's got himself in like a horrible position. Nominating Zach. He could have nominated Zach.
Yeah.
And he did nominate Zach, but he could still keep Zach and get rid of Cody. All he has to do is flip Caleb and Christine. They got Donnie, and then he don't vote. What's people gonna blame him when he's not voting?
It's really 2 weeks in a row, and maybe even longer, that the HOHs did something that was probably not in their best interest. That I think it was a bad move last week for Christine to use her HOH to get one of her best allies in the house out of the game, and then Frankie uses his HOH week to get out the only guy who's 100% committed to him out of the game.
You remember the season 7 Chilltown DR when Mike Boogie and Dr. Will are talking about, hey, can I bother you to get your best friend out of the game? Hey, can I bother you to get your best girlfriend out of the game?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what went down.
I mean, again, we have to, Derek is playing a great game. Props. He's doing a great job. He has all these people doing all these moves that are not in their best interest. It's just not super fun to watch for whatever reason. I can't put my finger on why it is. Maybe it's that Derek isn't taking the joy in it that we've seen in some of the other notable reality TV personalities, or it's maybe because Derek is just not good in the diary room. But for whatever reason, Derek's playing this phenomenal game, and it's not as fun as it should be to see somebody play this well.
Because he's playing the people as well. I get this feeling when I watch what he's doing and when I listen to him in the diary room that he's trying to screw me over too. And that makes me mad. And I'm sorry, Derek, you're the greatest player in this game right now, but you are ridiculous, dude.
Yeah, he's manipulating everybody in the house so well, and he's trying to use the same tactics on us in the diary room, where he's playing the game as a villain, but he's giving us the diary room confessionals that he is the hero of the season and the good guy and the underdog.
And that infuriates me.
No, I can't tell.
It says, I don't even want to go off. He's a professional snitch. He does for a living, or he did. I don't know what he's doing now. Hey, actually, Derek, I hope you win, because I don't want to feel like I'm stealing food out of your daughter's mouth, and I don't want my teeth bashed in.
All right. So then we get to the saboteur stuff. And, okay, so everybody's stuff gets hidden, and then ultimately people can't find anything. Zach is all on board on trying to find the saboteur. Now, Brian, in the episode, I believe the first person to have saboteur come out of their mouth was Zach. Is that how it went down in real life?
Yes, because they were told that they could not blame that on production, or they couldn't blame it on a saboteur. But then they said, oh, but if it comes out of somebody else's mouth first, then they can blame it on them, right? So all they did was wait on somebody to say saboteur, and then they just started blaming it on Zach.
Okay, so they're blaming everything on Zach. Now, a couple people on Twitter that want to represent the not Zach as the hero story said, this is Zach's fault for what he did with the cue ball, which was not shown in the episode. Brian, could you explain that story for us about what did Zach do with the cue ball?
Wait, let's get the question right first. This is Zach's fault. What is this? What is this that is Zach's fault? I'm tired of these cue ball questions. What is this that's his fault?
All right. Well, I don't know the cue ball story. Why did Zach take the cue ball off the pool table?
Because they were blaming him for being saboteur, and he thought it was funny, and then they caught him. Ha ha. You know, he was getting blamed anyway.
So they were sort of like, "Hey, you're the saboteur. You're the saboteur." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm the saboteur. So let me take the cue ball off the table." And was he doing it in front of everybody, or he did it sort of on the sly?
No, Rob. First, they're like, "You're the saboteur. You're a saboteur," and they got in his face, and they're just tirading him, just putting him down, they're bullying him, Rob. And then
we hate that.
He wasn't going around getting in people's face. He screamed at Victoria and accused her of it being her, but then everybody else would just pile on him, and so eventually just kind of went away. And then he decided eventually to do that.
I gotta say, Zach did a bad accusations. I know Zach always wants to be good TV, and we like good TV. I know you like good TV. I know you're worked up right now, but you still like good TV, right, Brian?
I like good TV, but
But I felt like Zach was trying to be a little cute when they said to him, "Hey, are you the saboteur?" And he did sort of raised his eyebrow, and the answer there is, "Are you the saboteur?" Just like in Ghostbusters, if somebody asks you if you're a god, the answer is yes. If somebody asks you if you were the saboteur, don't dance around it like Zach was doing. The answer is no, unequivocally. I am not the saboteur. I am not the saboteur. And he was sort of like nebulous. Like he gave them a little bit of the rope to hang him with because he did not do a good job of convincing the Codys and Calebs, Victorias and Christines of the world who knew he was not, or who didn't know he wasn't the saboteur. He was not convincing that he was not.
Well, that's all well and good, but there was a contractual alliance of 3 people getting paid to blame it on him.
Yeah.
There's no fighting that in the game. Does there anybody else got an alliance that you can like put a contract on that nobody else knows how and what you can do to throw your alliance under the bus, but we're going to pay you to make sure somebody gets framed for whatever?
Yeah. Brian, what was Donnie doing during all this? Because I feel like Donnie had to have been feeling bad during this accusations. We didn't see much of...
Blaming it on Zach. He blamed it on Zach, too.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't so hot for Donnie, because I think Donnie needs Zach, and, you know, Zach going home wouldn't be the greatest thing for Donnie's game.
Well, no, but Donnie, it felt like he's in a spot, and he took money.
Yeah.
I mean, what is he going to do? I don't know.
Now, Brian, how did Caleb say, you know what, I think we need to go in the garbage and look under the trash bag in the garbage? How did he, like, that seems like a 1 in a million shot that he would call it.
Now, this is the coincidence of all time, because when Zach had stole the cue ball, he ran into the bathroom and he was going to hide it in the garbage can, just like that. And that's where they found it.
Okay.
See, he went to the bathroom, closed the door. Cody ran to the bathroom door, yanked it open, and says, like, I'm going to start searching through your pockets. And then that's when he started yanking the stuff out of it. Then they found it.
Okay, so after they found, so that was just an unfortunate break for Zach, that he happened to be hiding the cue ball in the same exact style that they hid the stuff in the garbage. So it was just an amazing and unfortunate coincidence for Zach.
Yes, and of course afterwards they say, oh yeah, it's got to be him being the saboteur because he's hiding in the same kind of hiding places, but they were blaming it on him to begin with.
Yeah. Okay.
There's no escape route. He was going from the beginning of the week. Derek was targeting from the beginning. Frankie was targeting, like, not as much from the beginning, but he's been targeting the whole damn game.
Yeah. Okay. So then we get to the speech here with, you know, I did feel bad for Zach when everybody came in the room and Caleb started yelling at him and telling him about how you're caught. It just was a crappy way to go out of the game. Because, you know, getting blamed for something that you didn't do. I did feel bad for him in that moment when everybody's yelling, you're caught at him.
Well, I mean, he can thank production for that. It's their fault.
It did not help them. Again, I don't want to say that Zach is not without blame for the unfortunate circumstances that he found himself in. However, this break did not go his way this week. You know, you can't say that he's playing a flawless game that's been interrupted by production, but in this instance, he's definitely getting a raw deal right now.
Every single week, just about.
Yeah.
Something has happened because of this twist to screw up his game.
Yes, that's fair. The Team America twist has not been a friend to Zach. That being said, nobody put a gun to Zach's head and said, okay, Zach, call Nicole a Fruit Loop dingus and call Christine out and call Amber out and go back and forgive Frankie after everything that happened with him. And so, you know, Zach has made bad decisions on his own. However, he's also, you know, had things go. He's taken the bait that's been put out for him by Team America more than he should have.
What did you think about Frankie telling Zach that one of his saboteur missions was to stab his friend in the back when Frankie's Team America mission at that moment turned out being stabbing his best friend in the house? Actually, he's not his best friend, right?
Yeah. I thought that was a little bit of a stretch to say, oh wait, how about that time that you put Christine on the block? That could have been a saboteur mission. I think you can come up with anything of like, oh, what about the time that you didn't, when you were up with Jocasta on Battle of the Block and you didn't win? You could have been throwing Battle of the Block. That's another saboteur mission. And like, oh yeah, he did do that. So, You know, what about the time you said you hate everybody? Yeah, that's saboteur mission also. I thought it was a little bit of a stretch. But let's go to Frankie's POV speech and the rap that he did. I didn't think it was great. I thought that he was sort of racing through it, and I felt like it was hard to understand what he was saying.
Yeah, and he was trying to rip off Zach because Zach's popular and he sucks.
Yeah. Okay, let's take some questions here. I want to talk also about some of the people that yelled in the house this week. But we'll technically that's during the spoiler part of the show, and we'll talk about it. I know we're going way over here with the stuff. Let's take a couple questions, then let's get into live feeds. We still got the top 10 rejected zings of the night. Talk about stuff with live feeds. Actually, before we go to questions, so let's just give me the percentages of who's coming back into the game tomorrow night. Jocasta, what are the percent chances Jocasta wins a comp to come back in? 0.0?
Let's throw her 1%.
1% for Jocasta. Okay, and she's going to need some big favors from the Holy Trinity, her alliance, to have her back on that one. Okay, so we have 99% left. Okay, give me the rankings 1, 2, and 3, and then we'll figure out the percentages. Who's in third? Nicole? She's the HOH queen.
I kind of want to put her at 1, Rob.
You think Nicole has the best chance to get back into the house?
If it just depends on what kind of an endurance comp we're looking at, right?
Are we sure it's an endurance comp?
Well, I mean, last season it wasn't technically an endurance comp. Actually, it kind of was an endurance comp mixed with a skill. It's like a combined comp where they had to stay on the wall and catch balls. For the people returning to the game, it ended up being an endurance comp. The last person standing was the person that returned to the game. However, at that point, Judd was given the opportunity to be HOH by catching the most balls, or catching 10 balls first, I believe is what it was. And it ended up being Alyssa that was doing that crazy hang on the thing, and she ended up winning HOH, right?
Yeah, but do you think they're going to have basically the same exact thing that they did last year?
I mean, no, not the same exact thing, but I mean, do we not see almost the same exact thing every year with these comps?
Well, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see exactly what they do. Let's for argument's sake, let's say it is the same thing. Do you think Nicole wins that kind of endurance competition over Zach or Hayden?
No, because I believe one of the guys would catch 10 balls.
Yeah.
So I would say.
All right, but take the balls part out of the equation as far as catching them, okay? Let's just say it's some sort of like stand on something for forever, or let's say it's like whatever, like the hanging off the side of the ship, like in Big Brother 14. Let's say it's that. If that's the endurance comp, and the last one still up there comes back into the game, okay? Does that favor Zach, Hayden, or Nicole?
Okay, let's say Hayden. Let's just think physically. He's got big calves, big legs, big muscles in his lower body. That may be bad on him in an endurance comp where you need leg strength. So that could knock him down. Zach's a golfer, more lean, muscular. Nicole obviously might be able to do a little bit better with smaller feet and something like that. So I think it would be between Nicole and Zach coming back.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see, just Zach. We've said about him at different times, he's all heart. He's lacking, I think, in the strategic brain department, but he's all heart, and that's what we like about him. And the endurance comp is all about heart.
Do you think Hayden and Nicole could possibly agree for one of them to come back in? Or are they going to fight it out?
I think they would fight it out. I don't think that they have that sort of a serious relationship where it would be like, hey, Hayden, you can go.
No, I think it'd be more like, Hayden, let me go.
Hayden,
I'll be back in the house, Hayden.
Would you be pumped up, Brian, if on come Thursday night around 11 p.m. Big Brother time? You guys, I'm back.
I mean, I'm not going to be pumped up for anything, I don't think. If Zach comes back in the game and wins HOH and gets revenge on Frankie, which is what would happen. And, personally, the big move would be getting Derek out, right?
Right, but even if Zach comes back and it's like, Frankie, you Fruit Loop dingus, you're going home this week, and now it turns into a war between Zach and Frankie. Isn't the beneficiary of that Derek? If Zach comes back in the house and does Derek's dirty work and gets Frankie out next week, isn't that best case scenario for Derek?
Yes, and I don't care anymore. Honestly, I don't care. Let him win the money. Let him go feed his kid, and we'll deal with what we got.
What's the worst case scenario for Derek? What's worst case scenario?
Worst case scenario for Derek is someone getting like the bright idea to vote out Cody this week, and then Zach's already in the house, and then it's
no, forget that. That's not happening though. So worst case scenario with the people coming back, is it Hayden coming back in the house and working with Donnie?
Oh yes, I believe so.
Or
Nicole. I mean, if you think they talk before they do this thing, actually, if they all get to talk while they're standing there, they may figure out who needs to be targeted alone. They may blow up the entire house.
Yeah, could Nicole come back into the house, reconnect with Donnie, and then pull Christine into a potential voting block with them?
Yes, I mean, they can start ripping the alliance apart while they're standing on the wall.
Yeah, but would Christine go against Derek? Does she have any loyalty to? It would probably have to be, and then by proxy, maybe that Christine can pull Frankie over, and that could be a group to rival Derek's group.
Well, I mean, that's the group that needs. I mean, Christine and Frankie are in danger. I mean, more Frankie than Christine, though, I would believe.
Okay. All right, let's take some questions here. I think it would be, Zach leaving and coming back in would be the best TV, but I think for the best shake-up of the game, I think probably Nicole or Hayden coming back into the game is probably what needs to happen if it's going to be a speed bump for Derek. Okay, let's take some questions. Here we go from Anna Jose. Would it ever be in Donnie's best interest to expose Team America, or is he contractually obligated not to do so, Brian?
We do not know what the contract says. We've heard them discuss it. Obviously, Joey was able to tell Hayden that she was America's player, or one of America's players, I believe is what she said. But she wasn't, she didn't have, other house guests she could throw under the bus. I don't know if Donnie can say, I'm in alliance with these people. And in fact, they said Derek and Frankie had a discussion on whether or not Donnie could do that, and they decided that he couldn't.
That would be very interesting for Donnie. It's to sort of, to tell Zach or tell somebody that, I had to go along with what Frankie and Derek wanted to do, and I didn't want to. I didn't feel good. They were blowing smoke up my tail, and I had to do it, but they're liars, and that would be exciting.
I was contractually obligated to not throw them under the bus to you.
Yeah. Why? What would happen? Let's say what would happen to Donnie? They would take his $15,000 away.
Yeah, it's forfeiture of money's earned.
But if he could win the $500,000, wouldn't that be worth it?
Yeah. Of course it would be.
Yeah.
But I don't know what they would do. I mean, that contract thing is probably. I mean, they do that. That is ridiculous. That they have a freaking contract for an alliance. That's ridiculous, big brother.
All right. Let's take from Lauren Bradshaw wants to know, if Frankie is going to take Caleb off the block anyway, why not let Caleb win so he doesn't get more blood on his hands?
Because he wants the blood on his hands, and then he wants to go in the diary room and act like, I don't want to have to do this, but he's so horrible to me, and
all right, wait. Who's horrible? Frankie says Zach is horrible to him?
Yes. Okay, this is not really spoiler stuff, but it's something that happened. Can I just go straight into it? He's saying.
All right.
Okay. Well,
all right. If you're super sensitive, I'll hit the button a little bit. All right. A little bit, but we're not in full spoilers yet. Okay. What is it, Brian?
Yeah. So you remember that thing? He said that I was winning. I won this for the gays. He told Kathy Griffin I won this for the gays.
Yeah.
He told Zach that. What was it that something? No, he told somebody that I wonder what it was. I wonder what America is thinking about me right now. That poor homosexual. having to go through all those attacks. That's why I did the speech the way I did.
What attacks? Who's attacking Frankie?
Zach, he's saying that Zach did. That Zach attacked him, and the suggestion is he attacked his sexuality. And then, like, when? Possibly during the NFL trip, someone told him that Zach said something that may not have been true, but you can't find that stuff.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sure that is what America is thinking. Poor Frankie. Poor little
homosexual.
Yes, poor homosexual. I thought you were saying because that he was like in his HOH speech when he nominated Caleb and Cody. Poor Frankie, that he has to be taunted by these hot guys, Cody and Caleb, with their abs.
No, I'm talking about poor everyone in the freaking world that Frankie is up on his cross talking about someone's attacked him because of his sexuality, and it's not even damn true. He's ruining someone's reputation outside of the damn house, and it pisses me off.
Yes. I noticed. Okay. All right. Let's take some more questions. This is from Riley Rage. In the recap in the beginning of the episode, they mentioned Operation Groundskeeper Endgame. Is this a production original, or was this used in the house? What was Operation Groundskeeper Endgame?
God, I don't even know. I think I was fuming so much that like steam was like rising in front of my face and fogging my glasses.
Yeah, you couldn't see. All right. Let's take another question. This is from Emily Stobbs. It says, why is it okay for Derek, Cody, Frankie, and Caleb to scheme, but it's not okay for Donnie to scheme? Derek and Cody are furious that Donnie is apparently scheming. What is up with the double standards in the house? I thought this was Big Brother. How come Donnie's not allowed to scheme, Brian?
This task in which they set up the watch turned into like a keep an eye on Zach watch, right? Everybody, no matter where Zach went, he had to be accounted for. Everybody was following him around all the time. He couldn't go to the bathroom without people yanking the door open on him and stuff like that.
I wouldn't like that.
No, where was the question going? What was the question?
Why isn't Donnie allowed to scheme?
Oh, well, because they figured out, like, if you don't allow people to talk game, they can't, talk block. It's talk block.
Talk block?
Yeah, and so when they say, I catch him talking, if you come up to me and say, hey, Brian, it might be, okay, I'm not on the block, you're on the block. Brian, will you keep me? That's scheming, and you're not allowed to do that. So I have to go run and tell Daddy that you're trying to talk game and that you're throwing them under the bus, right?
Yeah.
And I'm throwing you under the bus. Do you get it? Do you get the hypocrisy of this crap?
Yeah, well, Boston Rob did it on Survivor. It's the buddy system. It's you have everybody in the alliance. Everybody thinks they're going to the end with you, and if you see anybody talking to the bad people, to the people that were voting out, then you come back and tell me, and then you got to snitch on people, and then they get voted out next if you talk to the person who's going to get voted out.
Well,
it's effective. It's an effective strategy. It's not fun to watch, but it is effective for somebody. If you're the Boston Rob, if you're the Derek, if you're the one person who's the leader with a bunch of sheep in your alliance, that's what you do. You pair anybody up and you say, hey, if you see anybody talking to Donnie, you come back here and you tell me, and then you got to put the fear into everybody. You sort of you got to run this like a dictator.
Yes, but when Derek comes out of the diary room and says, hey, this is supposed to be a prank, we're not supposed to blame it on production or saboteur or anything like that, and it ends up being a frame job. It just pisses people off.
Okay. Let's go to Christina 3106. I felt bad for Zach this episode, but I don't get the obsession with him. Can you enlighten me? Well, I think that if I could let me eulogize Zach a little bit, because we did it 2 weeks ago. He didn't die. He had a near-death experience. This could be it. Or 24 hours from now, he could be, in and out the revolving door of the Big Brother house. I think the eulogy for Zach is in a season that's been dominated by one alliance, and it's been sort of a straight line all the way through of the bomb squad / detonators, just, like a hot knife through butter through the rest of the competition. Zach has been the one source of chaos in a season that has been very linear all the way through. And while the guy is not a strategic mastermind by any stretch of the imagination, like I said earlier, he has a lot of heart and a lot of energy. He's a young guy, and I think, that's people just seem to gravitate. He has a lot of charisma and a lot of personality. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He's, authentic in the diary room. He talks to people at home, and I think that he's somebody that we have sympathized with throughout most of the season. And if you're a Zach fan, that's why you like him. He's arrogant. He is, he's cocky, and he's not a great friend to his own game, unfortunately. He's probably been way too forgiving of some of the people in the house that were ready to vote him out, especially Frankie and, to a lesser degree, Derek. And he did not end up doing a great job at the end of the day with his game, but I think that that's why people have gravitated towards him. It's not always the people who are the greatest players that would turn out to be the fan favorites.
No, and another thing on top of it, he's not who the people in the house are making him out to be. He's not abusive to women. He's not homophobic. He doesn't do these things, but they attack him and trying to make us believe that he is like that. It is sickening to me.
Yeah. I think that's strictly a live feed thing, because to the average person who's watching the show at home, he is not, that hasn't been a factor at all.
Well, and too, Zach has thrown some low blows around too. I mean, he went low on Devin. He's thinking about going low on Christine.
That's fair. That's fair.
However,
he has not been a saint by any stretch of the imagination, and I don't want to make him into, he's getting screwed over by this, and he hasn't played a perfect game. It hasn't been a perfect citizen in the house, but he has been very fun to watch, and we're more forgiving for the entertaining players than we are for some of the less entertaining people in the house, especially when they're floaters.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I'm about ready for him to be out of the house because I'm tired of seeing the tragedy of Big Brother.
The tragedy of Big Brother, Brian.
It's like every single season. It's like a thread that they're trying to get through the small little eye, right? And they need the season to be some sort of huge tragedy, and that there's an off chance that tragic part turns out to be like a hero, right? That it comes out and it's not a tragedy. It's a huge comedy. It's a huge success. But it's always somebody at the end. The person that why don't they cast it in a way that the person that everybody likes wins? If they're supposed to be so good at casting, that should be the game to them. It's like a game of chess or a game of solitaire. Every season, I've got to figure out how I can get somebody that the public will like to win this game.
Brian, didn't that happen last season? We love Andy.
Yes, we love Andy. We love Andy, but he doesn't. He's one of the hated house guests, right? Let's just be honest. He's like a hated house guest.
Okay, let's take another question. We're not even in live feeds yet? Oh, my God. What is this going to be, a 10-hour show? Edward Giordano, for each player in the house, who should they want to return? Real quick, I'll name the person. You tell me if there's anybody who should want them to come back. Jocasta, unfortunately, this is who Donnie is going to want back, but probably Jocasta doesn't help Donnie at all, correct?
Correct.
Then for Nicole, is there anybody who should be rooting for Nicole to come back? I think Christine should. Although she probably shouldn't have backdoored her last week.
Well, no, she won't. She won't help anybody. I mean, they've attacked her character as well.
Okay, Hayden. Is there anybody who should be rooting for Hayden to come back into the game?
I mean, any of these people, like for Hayden or Nicole, that would be good for Donnie, right? He was already working with them. They get right back into working together. But nobody else, man.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Derek can utilize one of them or brainwash one of them into being another zombie, but only far enough that he can throw them under the bus.
Okay. So Donnie should be rooting for anybody to come back. Donnie should
be rooting for Zach to come back, right? Because I think Zach would be the biggest target I think he needs the hugest target to come back.
All right, let's get into
the least likely to win a comp.
Let's get into officially the spoilers. All right, spoiler zone. We're in the spoilers. It's all spoiled now. Brian, what? I think that we have pretty much gotten a gist of everything that's been going on. Tell me about the people who yelled into the house, and how is this happening? Where all of a sudden the lockdown that the Big Brother house guests are supposed to be on has been, repeatedly been getting, people are getting through. We heard, what was it last week that people yelled into the house?
We love you, Zach.
Okay, and then so what happened this week?
We hate you, Beast Mode Cowboy. We love you, Zach. Frankie, you're disgusting. While they're out there, so these people are watching the live feeds while it's happening, so they know who's out there. And then, but Zach starts, as soon as it starts getting like that, we don't know if Zach heard exactly what happened or he just misheard it and said that later. He told them both that there was only good things said about him, right? Said about both of them. But he starts yelling over what they're saying and just starts saying thank you. So maybe Zach heard those things and started screaming them down so that Frankie and Caleb wouldn't hear it, and that he's trying to protect them.
Yeah. Why did these people hate Beast Mode Cowboy?
Because he's ridiculous, Rob. We're in spoilers, right?
Yes.
Well, I'm not sure. I don't think he had said this yet, but he had said that, because Beast Mode Cowboy, his integrity is without question, right? Because he was in the military, so no one in the world can question his love of country and whatever.
Hold on, is that this is as per Beast Mode Cowboy, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, and from what he said in pregame, he was a prison guard in Afghanistan, and he's really upset that he didn't get to fight in infantry or whatever and have more of a role in the war.
Okay.
But he wants to go off saying that, oh, Senator, I'm so damn good. I know for a fact that Zach would be one of those people that would hightail it and run in war and leave us all hanging. Okay. First of all, Derek, I mean, it's not Derek, but Caleb.
Beast Mode Cowboy.
This pisses me off. Who are you, Caleb? Who are you to question someone's integrity like that just because you watch some damn prisoners in Afghanistan?
Well, I know that, Brian, I know you're a big Zach fan. I'm sure this is very painful this week to go through this because we're in the point where it's the person that's going home, and now we're in the official, now we have to bash the person and pile on whoever is going home. And this happens, every time we get into a situation where everybody is involved with the person going home. So I'm sure that there is an unprecedented amount of Zach bashing going on in the house this week.
I would just like to make it known that I would, without a doubt, take Zach into my squad over Bitch Mode Cowboy.
Oh, okay. Well, don't attack the BMC. But okay, that's duly noted. You'll take Zach over Caleb in the military draft.
Yeah, that's all I had to say. I'm done with it.
Okay. All right. So. Tell me about, so what's going on with Victoria and the pink hat?
Victoria and the pink hat. Well, the pink hat is Victoria's, right?
Okay.
But she had given it to Zach, and she said she wasn't going to take it back from him. But she decided that after the zing, because it was brought up that he wears pink, and Zach had said that the hat makes him, it's part of his thing, that she wants to steal it back and destroy it. So she goes back to the diary room and asks them if it's her hat, if she can steal it, because you're not supposed to, destroy other people's property, right? So she steals the hat back, cuts it up, and it drives Zach nuts because he's like, well, you're just doing this to piss me off. What's the point? Can I have the hat back? No, because you keep torturing me. And what's this torturing thing? It's because people like Derek and Frankie are telling her stuff like, well, he's calling you the C word, or he's threatening to rip your tongue out, or he's being malicious to you, or this, more character attacks from these two.
Okay, so everybody's getting Victoria wound up against Zach also.
Yes, and Zach has, he's been mean to Victoria, but not to her face, really,
yes.
Other than give me my hat, or you're the saboteur. That's like the extent of him screaming at her.
Okay, talk about what is Donnie's role in all of this campaigning?
So Donnie has, he tried to talk to Cody, to set something up for after when Zach leaves. And, of course, Cody runs back to Derek. It takes him a while eventually to – I mean, he told him about what he said, like, just a little while ago. Donnie also went to Zach to try to get him to campaign to Frankie, who pretty much called Zach out for campaigning to him, started bashing his character again, told him – Frankie told Zach that him trying to campaign to stay was affecting Frankie's ability to feed children in Africa, Rob.
Who said that? Frankie did?
Frankie said that to Zach.
Okay, and what did Zach say?
Zach's like, I mean, I don't know what I can do, man. It's over with. Like, that's what he said. It's over with. I'm going home. There's nothing I can do.
Yeah, well, that was very selfish of Zach, because Frankie is trying to build schools in Africa, and if Zach stays in the game, then he's hurting Frankie's game, and he is taking food out of not only Derek's kid's mouth, but also the mouths of the children in Africa that Frankie's going to feed in the school.
Well, it says something about Derek that he would rather him get the money and feed one child than allow Frankie to have it.
You know what? That's right. And so Derek wants to feed only one baby, and Frankie is trying to feed all sorts of many African babies. And so if anybody is trying to not do what Frankie wants, they obviously hate babies in Africa.
Well, I mean,
messed up.
I mean, Derek, that's the narrative that Derek has constructed for himself. So deal with it, bro.
All right. Well, you know what? I hope that somebody, I hope Julie calls out Zach about this, his hatred of the children in Africa by trying to campaign to stay in the house this week.
Yeah. Okay. You remember when Donnie said something about he may, if he won the veto, then he might decide whether or not to use it based on M&Ms?
Yes, yes.
So he has already said something like that. That's kind of gone around, and they were talking about how he might do that for nominations for HOH if he wins it. And Derek says, I swear to God, I'll slap the M&Ms right out of his hands. I swear to God on my daughter now. And he's talking like he would be talking to Donnie. He says, now, pick 4 off the ground, bitch. Talking about Donnie.
Yeah. So Donnie is making jokes about that he was upset about the Skittles thing, and we talked about that at length on Monday. And so who is Derek talking tough to?
Oh, well, you know, his talk tough buddies, you know, Frankie and Cody and Caleb.
Okay. And so, yeah, you know, whatever. I mean, he's just, you know, talking behind closed doors in his mind and carrying a big stick. You know, he's getting everybody. It's good strategy on his part that he's like getting the guys all like hyped up. And again, that's how you sort of program Beast Mode Cowboy. We've talked about it at length, where you've even documented times where Derek is saying things like that, and then later on he says, "Hey Caleb, remember when you said you were going to knock the M&Ms out of Donnie's hand and tell him to pick them up, bitch?" So, you know, that's kind of what Derek does. He brainwashes these guys, and it's ugly to watch, and it's sort of culty to see it happen, but I mean that's Derek's game.
Well, you know why? Because it's things like, I'll slap the crap out of him, I'll bash his teeth in. Who's going to turn against this guy? He's introducing the idea of retaliation by physical violence into the house.
Yeah.
You're stealing. Look, and if you do that to my daughter, if you would have done that to my daughter, I'll bash her teeth in. Plus, by you even trying to do anything to help yourself out in the game, you're stealing food out of her mouth. You know? Okay, well, those things are equivalent. Does that mean you can bash my face in now, dude?
Yeah, I know it's hard to, you know, draw the line where the hyperbole ends and, you know, where a legitimate threat begins. And so, you know, you always say like, oh, it's a figure of speech. I don't really mean that. You know, it's a fine line. I don't know what you could really do to police that. I don't know if, you know, every time he says it, you have like, Derek, please come to the diary room. You know, I totally understand where you're coming from with that. It's just, you know, I think it's a tough thing to be able to police. And I think it's smart strategy on Derek's part, even though it's ugly strategy and it's not fun to sort of watch how the sausage gets made.
I just don't think it's a figure of speech when he's trying to convince Caleb that he's the one that said something like that.
Yeah, well, he's a master manipulator, Derek, and he's really good at the brainwashing. How about the vote count, Brian? Where are we at with the Zach versus Cody? Is it going to be another shutout?
I mean, I would say Donnie votes to keep Zach as a matter of principle.
Okay. Well, that would be interesting if Zach would be the one to come back into the house. I knew that stuff was going on right before we came on with Derek and with Donnie. Do you get the sense that Derek is ready to cut bait on Donnie next week?
I've been getting the sense that he's been ready to cut bait on him like for weeks now, right? Since he did that thing about, oh, well, Donnie's definitely not on board with helping Team America out. So, we tried, but he was the one like 5 days before that trying to scrap the Team America mission.
So if Donnie goes up on the block next week, do we think that there's any chance that he could bring up the Team America stuff? I mean, if it looks like he's going to go home, or it would just like null and void the $15,000 he already made.
I don't think he'll do it. Or if the money's obviously important to him, or he wouldn't have helped them out blaming Zach.
Yeah.
So okay. I don't think he'll sacrifice the money at all.
All right. Anything else from the live feeds before we open up for a couple more questions and talk about the top 10 rejected zings?
I kind of want to get to these rejected zings, actually.
Okay. So anything else from the rest of the week?
Not unless there's something that you specifically saw that we missed.
No, I'm sure. Let's see. Yeah, nothing else. I think that's not going to get you more wound up. All right. Let's take a couple questions and let's talk about the top 10 rejected zings from tonight. From Mackenzie. Mackenzie wants to know. Spoiler: do you guys think Donnie is ruining his game based on who he has trusted the last 2 days? Who has Donnie been trusting the last 2 days?
So Donnie would be trusting Zach.
Yeah.
Right. So and. I mean, Donnie, my heart goes out to him, right? Because if this was a football game, he ran the ball every single play, and now he realizes he's in trouble, and he's trying to throw Hail Marys.
Okay, so just to look at this, if we have 8 people left in the house again next week, Battle of the Block is over. This could be when we could see a big move start to happen, because now there's only going to be one HOH, and you're only going to nominate 2 people. So we're back to regular Big Brother after this week. So, okay, so the people in the house, we have Derek, we have Cody, we have Caleb, we have Frankie, we have Christine, still have Donnie, we have Victoria, and we have either Zach, Hayden, or Nicole for next week. So do you think, Brian, that the HOH will potentially be either one of Donnie or one of the people that gets back into the house? What do you think the likelihood of that happening is? We've seen it happen before where the person who comes back into the house gets HOH right after they come back, going all the way back to Big Brother 3 when Amy came back into the house and became HOH instantly. So there is a precedent for this.
Yes, it would be exciting, obviously. It would flip the house, maybe. Do I have a lot of faith that it will change the game? No.
Hypothetically speaking, if Zach, Nicole, or Hayden comes back into the house, becomes the HOH, what are the chances Derek ends up on the block for the first time next week?
I think you would have to split those people up. I think if it's Zach, Zach's not willing to steal food out of his daughter's mouth, and he will not nominate him.
Really? Zach would nominate Derek? He put up what, Frankie and who?
No, Zach is so burned on Frankie that he's just telling Derek that he will vote for him in the end. He's told everybody he's going to vote for Derek in the end, and I thought this was like damaging to Derek's game, and Derek thought it was too, and so he asked Zach not to say that anymore. Zach says he won't say it anymore. He hasn't said it anymore. I think from Zach's point of view, Derek's the nicest guy in the house right now. Because he is. Because what he did, he was created this thing, this whole perception that Zach was this evil, horrible person that beats on women. And while everybody else blows up over it, he steps back and starts talking nice in the diary room so he doesn't take any of the blame.
Okay. So let's take a question here from GR013. Would love to hear Rob and Brian talk about the events of this afternoon with Derek getting so rattled by Donnie's conversation with Christine and company. So where does Christine factor into all this, Brian?
Well, Donnie had went to Christine as well and tried to get her to. He was very selective with his words, but when Christine went to tell people immediately about it,
yeah, because I read on Twitter that Donnie basically revealed all of Derek's game to Christine, and then she immediately went and snitched on him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Which is, I mean, she being a good snitch right here, right? It puts the target bigger on her. It may actually help reduce the target on Frankie, right? Because Derek was talking about getting rid of Frankie, so maybe all of this thing blows up, and it's just a bad move by Donnie to rattle feathers right now because maybe he didn't know that they were thinking about trying to get rid of Frankie next week.
Yeah, I think we're on a little bit of a powder keg. I really do think that we could have a big explosion depending on who comes back into the house tomorrow night. Because if Derek is fighting a war on the Donnie front and this thing is about to boil over, if Donnie plays this right and ends up getting an ally back into the game in the form of Zach, Nicole, or Hayden, he could potentially, if that side of the house, like if Donnie gets HOH tomorrow night, that could be a major game changer, I think, for Big Brother 16.
Oh, yeah, because I think he would definitely put up Frankie and Derek, right?
That would be probably the most exciting thing to happen the whole season.
I mean, it would be. I just don't see it happening, though. I don't see him being able to win this kind of endurance competition.
Yeah, well, that would not be in in Donnie's strong suit if it was some sort of athletic competition. But we have seen Donnie win what, 5 vetoes this season?
Oh well, yeah, but I mean they weren't hanging on the wall kind of vetoes.
No. Okay, well we'll see. Let's see what they end up throwing out there. If they feel like we haven't seen anything endurance wise yet, but let's see. If it's just hanging there, though, I know that Donnie is going to get winded, but maybe if Donnie's all heart, maybe he can figure out a way to hang in there.
I just don't see. I mean, maybe he can tie his beard to something.
Yeah, maybe. All right, 1 or 2 more questions here. What Up 5 says, when do you think Frankie will be evicted? Do you think he has the potential to make it to the final 2 or the final 3? And if he somehow makes it to the final 2, do you think he has a chance of winning, especially after Mogulgate? I think that Frankie does not have a chance.
I mean, no, Frankie don't have a chance. I mean,
No.
he's like his best ally in the house. He is sending home this week. Like Frankie says to everybody in his group now that Zach's out that we're sending the backstabber home, and we're going to have. He says, I literally believe that we're going to have a real peaceful kind of 2 weeks, and that we'll have a gentleman's game. And he says it's a gentleman's game in front of Christine, like a moron.
Yeah, Frankie he doesn't realize that he's totally painted himself into a corner right now because he is not in Derek's endgame plans. And he'll be the next target after Donnie goes home.
Yeah, and so when Zach was telling him those exact words, and Frankie's mocking him and ridiculing him and talking trash about his back, behind his back, and it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. No, Frankie really, I think when he goes back and watches this season, I think he's going to feel really bad about that he had a guy who was 100% loyal to him in his back pocket. It was a loose cannon, but was a guy who was 100% loyal to him, who he totally stabbed in the back, who then completely forgave him and went back to being 100% loyal to him, and then a second time he totally screwed him over. It's like, somebody who is like has a wife who's just like amazing, and then goes out and cheats on the wife, and then the wife forgives him, takes him back, and then he goes out of his way to cheat on the wife and divorce her for a second time.
Frankie will never understand it like that. In his mind, it will always be Zach stabbed me in the back.
Yeah. All right. One more question here with Brian. Time really flew by tonight. Brooke says, why do you think the house guests have not been talking about a player returning to the game? Don't you think this should be something to consider when evicting someone? Brian, how much has this been talked about in the house?
It has been talked about some, they refer to it as the buyback. I'm not going to refer to it as a buyback because it just sounds ridiculous to me. I think that Derek probably knows that. Yeah, he said that he knows it's coming back. I think he's pretty much set the week up so that if Zach comes back, then he won't be after Derek. And his hopes are that Zach will come back, actually.
Derek is hoping that Zach will come back?
Yeah, because if Zach comes back, then... Now, this is all speculation. I cannot give you anything to go back to see it. But he does not go and talk to Zach all night long about the buyback and stuff and how his family appreciates what Zach did for him in this game and stuff like that, and talk about like what actually happened during it. And Zach knows that Frankie stabbed him in the back over and over again. So Zach is going to be going for Frankie.
Again, talking about what a, great player Derek is. He's really good with these people out the door. I mean, that he was, he was blowing smoke up Nicole's tail all week long last week, right? I mean, wasn't Derek very exceptional on handling? Like, he wanted Nicole to go home. He shot down any attempt by Zach to maybe let's not vote out Nicole this week. And he was completely, to her face, was a super nice guy to Nicole going out the door.
Yes, and she still believes that he wasn't the one that stabbed her in the back.
Yeah, he's very good. Derek is fantastic. All right, Brian, I have from the listeners of Rob the Podcast the top 10 rejected zings not used by the Zingbot tonight.
Zing!
All right, here we go. Top 10 rejected zings from @Sensei_Alexi. Alexi on Twitter says, Victoria, the only thing worse than your BB16 game is Caleb's game with the ladies. Zing! All right, I'm not going to do them all in the Zingbot voice.
Okay.
Okay. And I'll
do Kathy Griffin voice.
I can do Kathy Griffin. This is from the Dingbot. These are the rejected zings. This is from Spicy Wasabi. Spicy Wasabi says, Team America was asked to hide items from the house guests. Victoria, did they hide your personality too? Ding! Cause, I am the cause, number 8, says, Frankie, you're as much of a social media mogul as Amber is a physical threat. Ding! Number 7, Josh Mims, @JoshMims2, said, Cody, everyone says you look like John Travolta. I think they meant the John that revolts ya. It doesn't even make sense. That's more like a Donnie. You look like Duck Dynasty. Your game is like Suck Dynasty.
That's so brilliant.
The John that revolts ya. Okay. Number 6, Mike Bloom Mike Bloom type says, Hey Frankie, I heard you changed your last name to Pacino to show your chances of winning. That's a bilingual joke, Brian.
I don't get it.
Yeah. Okay, Mitchell, number 5, @MDP4500 says, Hey Frankie, I hear Ariana is your half sister. I guess the talent came from the other half.
Oh.
Number 4, from Amy, the host of the Bachelor and Bachelorette RHAP Up @RHAP Recapper, says, Donnie, great job on the cricket impression. It's also the correct answer to what is Donnie's Big Brother strategy? Anna Jose, number 3, at @AJose25 says, Zach, the year 2000 called. They want the word dingus back. All right, number 2, Brian, from @A Pickle in a Banana, says, Victoria, a bag of Skittles has made more moves in this game than you have. All right. And number 1. Yeah, you like the Skittles joke? Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right, and number 1. All right, back to Amy from @RHAP Recapper says, Caleb, Good news. We asked Justin Bieber if he'd record with you. The bad news. Turns out he can say never. There you go. There you go. Those are the top 10 Those are the top 10 rejected zings from the listeners of Rob Has a Podcast. Okay, that is going to do it on Wednesday night. Thursday night, we'll be back live. Ian Terry will join us at 10:15 p.m. Eastern Time to talk about whatever happens. Obviously, we are fully expecting the eviction of Zach, but we will talk about the resurrection of one of the 4 house guests to be voted out and who, since the jury has started, whether it will be Jocasta, Hayden, Nicole, or Zach. Somebody's coming back into the game. Could be a big shakeup. We may have a new HOH, but chances are we'll be in the midst of a live endurance challenge. We will be covering it as it happens in the spoiler section, and then give you your first thoughts on what is going to happen with the new person that came back into the house and also the new HOH. So it's going to be a jam-packed Thursday, Brian.
Yeah, I'm excited. Maybe I can find my composure again at some point.
Yes. All right. Well, yeah. You might want to sleep this one off. Maybe the battery will be recharged if Zach comes back.
Yeah. I hope he just goes. I don't want him in the house no more, actually.
Okay. All right. Well, that's going to be a big show on Thursday night. Also, I talked about Celebrity BB UK with our hosts of our international Big Brother RHAP Ups, Kurt Clark and Mallory Beasley. You could check that show out on Rob Has a Podcast as well from Tuesday night. Very fun to see Gary Busey play Big Brother, Brian, a sentence I never thought I would see in my entire life.
Well, I mean, it makes perfect sense, really, for someone like Gary Busey to get on a Celebrity Big Brother. I mean, that's the kind of thing that they do. Get like somebody that needs a career resurrection from the U.S. and throw them on TV and let them make a fool of themselves.
Yes, it was very fun. There was some fun twists that they did there with Gary Busey. You could check that out. And then follow Kurt and Mallory all season long on Reality TV RHAP Ups. That's our other podcast feed of the shows that I am not able to cover with some of the hosts that you recognize from Rob As a Podcast. That's at robasawebsite.com/RHAPups, RHAP UPS for the iTunes feed, and you can get them all on robhasawebsite.com. All right, so Brian, that's going to do it for this show. Again, thanks to everybody who's using our link for Amazon.com. I haven't talked about it much lately, but thanks to everybody who's remembering it for all of their back to school and other stuff that they need around the house. robhasawebsite.com/Amazon to start your shopping on Amazon.com and support Rob As a Podcast with every purchase you make. Thank you guys so much for that. We'll be back Thursday night. Have a great night, everybody. And thanks to everybody who used the rejected zings hashtag. We got so many. Very hard to choose from all of your submissions. So thank you guys so much for that. We'll see you on Thursday night. Take care, everybody.